The art of living gently in a loud world, the noise we carry inside. It often starts quietly, so quietly you don't notice it at first. A colleague's offhand comment, the way someone raises their eyebrows when you speak, the way your voice softens mid-sentence because you sense you're taking up too much space, the way you nod even when you disagree, just to keep the peace. And then the loud world begins to take root inside you. You carry the noise of others' expectations, their judgments, their ideas of how you should live, speak, feel. It hums beneath your daily routine, a low and steady buzz that shapes the choices you make. You wake up and check your phone before your feet touch the floor, not because you're curious, but because you're anxious. What did they say? What didn't they say? Have you been liked enough to feel okay today? It's subtle, this slow erosion of self. You don't even remember the moment you stopped living for your own rhythm and started dancing to the tempo of everyone else. Maybe you were 12 and someone told you you were too quiet. Maybe you were 16 and they laughed when you cried too easily. Maybe it was last year when a friend said, "You're too sensitive," with a smirk that felt like shame disguised as concern. And so you toughened up. You learned to nod and smile. You became agreeable, adaptable, like soft clay in too many hands. But in trying to fit every shape they needed you to be, you lost the outline of who you actually were. Tonight, I want you to gently return to that outline, not to make noise of your own in protest, not to shout above the world just to be heard, but to remember that silence is not absence. Silence can be a form of presence. You are allowed to step back from the loud world, not because you're weak, but because you're wise enough to know you don't need to compete with chaos. Let's sit with that, just for a moment. Take a breath, a slow one. Imagine you're sitting in a small room with dim light, a cup of tea cooling by your side, the rain brushing gently against your window. You are safe here. You are not performing. You are simply being. What would it look like to move through life without explaining yourself all the time? What would it feel like to not justify your slowness, your softness, your stillness? To live gently in a loud world is not to disappear. It is to exist on your own terms, softly, but with quiet certainty. It is saying, I don't need to respond to everything. I don't need to be understood by everyone. And I don't need to be loud to be worthy of space. You see, we're taught that if we're not busy, we're lazy. If we're not visible, we're irrelevant. If we're not hustling, we're falling behind. But that's just noise. Noise that sells urgency as purpose. Noise that turns exhaustion into a badge of honor. There is another way. There has always been another way. You've seen it in the older woman who tends her small garden in the early morning mist. She doesn't rush. She doesn't compete. Her joy is in the tending itself. You've seen it in the man who sits by the lake every evening, feeding birds with the same patience he offers his thoughts. He doesn't post about it. He doesn't need to. That moment is enough. You've felt it in your own body during those quiet nights when you didn't have to be anything for anyone. Just a blanket, a book, a soft breath. Just you. Enough. Maybe you've forgotten how to live that way. Maybe the noise got too loud. But you can remember, you can return. Tonight, start by doing one thing gently, not efficiently, not impressively, just gently. Make your tea slowly. Fold your blanket with care. Speak to yourself as if you are someone worth comforting. Because you are. The loud world will keep spinning. But you can move through it like a leaf in a quiet stream. Not rushing, not resisting, just trusting the current of your own calm. You do not need to explain your pace. You do not need to harden to survive. You are allowed to be soft and still be strong. You are allowed to be quiet and still be seen. You are allowed to live gently, even here, even now, even in a world that forgot how. The weight of the mask. There's a kind of quiet fatigue that doesn't come from lack of sleep. It's the tiredness that seeps into your bones after years of pretending, of being agreeable when you're not, of smiling when your chest feels hollow, of saying, "I'm fine," even when you're unraveling inside. It's not a loud pain. It's not the kind that shouts or demands. It's the ache of holding your breath in rooms where you can't be yourself. You've worn the mask for so long, you almost forgot it was never your face. You wear it to be liked. You wear it to avoid conflict. You wear it because somewhere along the line, you were told you were too much, or not enough, or simply not quite right. And so you learned how to shrink. Not physically, perhaps, but emotionally, spiritually. You made yourself smaller in conversations, withdrew your needs quietly, apologized for taking up space that was always rightfully yours, and the world praised you for it. They called you easygoing, low maintenance, a good sport. But they never saw the cost. They never noticed the loneliness that came from being liked for someone you're not. You begin to wonder, if they only love the version of you that agrees, smiles, and sacrifices, do they love you at all? That question, it sits in your chest like a stone. Some nights, it's heavier than others. Some days you carry it so well, no one can tell. But you know, you always know. And maybe tonight, it's time to start loosening the ties. The mask doesn't have to be torn off. This isn't about rebellion. It's about release. Start gently. Let your voice tremble if it must, but let it speak. Let your hands shake as you set down the weight, but set it down anyway. Because every time you choose truth over performance, you come home to yourself. There will be people who don't understand your change. People who liked you better when you were easy to digest. Let them go. You're not an echo. You're not here to make everyone comfortable. You're here to be whole. Being liked is not the same as being loved. And peace is not the same as pleasing. Take a moment with that. Let it sink in. Imagine sitting across from yourself at the kitchen table. You, the one underneath the mask. What would you say to them? Would you tell them to keep pushing down their truth just to avoid discomfort? Would you tell them to keep performing kindness even when it's depleting? Or would you tell them you're allowed to be real even if your voice shakes, even if your truth doesn't match what others expect, even if it means some people walk away? Because the ones who stay, they'll stay for who you actually are. They'll stay for the softness you've hidden, for the tears you've swallowed, for the laughter you stifled when you thought it might be too loud. And more than anything, you'll stay. You'll stop abandoning yourself to keep the peace. You'll look in the mirror and finally see someone you recognize. Not the perfect version, not the polished one, but the true one. And that is enough. Let the loud world keep spinning. Let it chase, shout, consume. You are walking a different path now. One of slow mornings and quiet boundaries. One of honesty that doesn't need to be dramatic. One of living, not performing. Let your days be full of meaning, not noise. Let your moments be soaked in presence, not performance. This is the art of living gently. It is not passive. It is powerful in its stillness. You will feel awkward at first. You will want to put the mask back on when the silence gets too loud. But stay with it. Breathe through it. You are not doing it wrong. You are simply becoming real. And real takes courage. Real takes time. But real is where peace lives. Real is where you live. Choosing stillness in a world that never stops. There's something sacred about a quiet moment. But sacred doesn't always mean comfortable, especially when you've spent most of your life moving. Moving to stay ahead, to stay acceptable, to stay needed. Busyness, for many of us, has become a kind of shelter, a safe excuse not to feel too deeply, a way to avoid the unsettling silence that reveals how tired we really are. We fill our schedules with errands, our minds with worries, our hearts with expectations that were never ours to carry. And when we do finally pause, when we allow ourselves 5 minutes in the parked car before going inside, or sit with a warm drink and no distractions, or lie in bed as the world goes dim, that's when the truth starts whispering. I'm tired, it says. I don't know who I'm performing for anymore. I want to stop proving. I just want to be. Stillness is not just about doing less. It's about choosing presence over performance. It's about finally hearing yourself again. After years of tuning in only to what others needed. It's not easy. In fact, the first time you sit still, truly still, you might panic because the noise of the world was a distraction. And without it, you can hear the beating of your own unmet needs. You can feel the grief of your own ignored voice. You can see how long you've been running from rest because you thought you had to earn it. But what if you didn't? What if you could rest simply because you're here? Not because the house is clean. Not because the to-do list is finished. Not because everyone else is okay. But because you are worthy of stillness. Right now. Right here. Even if there are dishes in the sink. Even if your inbox is full. Even if someone, somewhere, thinks you should be doing more. Stillness is an act of rebellion in a world that glorifies exhaustion, and it's one of the gentlest ways you can say to yourself, I matter, even when I'm not producing, even when I'm not fixing, even when I'm not pleasing. You may not know what to do with stillness at first. You might feel the itch to scroll, reply, solve, but let yourself resist that urge for just a little while longer. Let yourself sit in the company of your own breath. Can you hear it? The rise and fall, the soft inhale, the slower exhale. Proof that you are here, alive, deserving. Outside, the world may still be rushing. Cars blaring on the street, news feeds spinning their endless cycle. People chasing a life that looks good, even if it doesn't feel good. But you are learning something quieter, something deeper. You're learning that the most beautiful life is not the loudest, not the most impressive, but the one where you come home to yourself over and over again. Stillness doesn't mean your life will stop moving. It means your soul will stop shrinking. It means that in the middle of chaos, you can find one small, soft space where you can breathe. It could be the corner of your bedroom, lit by a candle, or a walk in the early morning before the world wakes, or the sound of your own voice finally saying, "No, you don't need permission. You don't need applause. You only need the quiet courage to believe that living gently is enough, more than enough. You are not behind. You are not failing. You are not broken because you're tired. You are a human being, learning how to be. So close your eyes, not to escape, but to return to your breath, to your body, to your own quiet truth. Let the world keep spinning. You don't have to chase it. Your worth isn't found in how much you do. It's found in how gently you love, how kindly you pause, how deeply you listen, even now, even here, especially here, returning to yourself. There's a moment, quiet and unannounced, when you realize you've been away from yourself for a very long time. Not physically, no. You've been showing up to work, to obligations, to other people's stories, but your own voice, your own needs, your own still, soft inner self, you left those behind somewhere. Maybe in a season of stress, maybe in a relationship where you were always the caretaker, maybe in the blur of becoming what the world rewarded. And now, here you are, in this quiet space, at the edge of night, remembering, not with a bang, not with fireworks, but with a simple truth. I miss myself. It's okay. There's no shame in forgetting. The world is built to distract us, to shape us into roles instead of letting us be real. But what matters now is the return to your own breath, to your own pace, to the way your eyes soften when you're not trying to impress anyone. You don't have to know exactly who you are. This isn't about clarity all at once. It's about the small steps of becoming, the sacred practice of noticing what drains you, even if it used to light you up, noticing what nourishes you, even if it doesn't look productive, noticing when your yes is honest and when it's really a quiet no in disguise. Coming home to yourself is not a one-time event. It's a rhythm, a remembering, a choosing. Some days you'll lose your way again. That's okay. Gentle living isn't perfection. It's grace. It's looking in the mirror after a hard day and saying, "You did your best. Let's rest now." It's letting your heart be tired without demanding it explain why. It's choosing kindness over critique, even when you stumble. And most of all, it's realizing that gentleness is not something you earn. It's something you already are. Softness has always lived inside you. It just got buried beneath the noise, the voice of comparison, the pressure to please, the myth that louder, faster, more is better. But tonight, let the softness rise again. Let it speak without needing to be polished. You might find it in a warm bath, in the way your dog leans against your leg, in the hush of the room when the lights are low, and your thoughts finally settle. You might find it in the simple sentence, "I'm okay," even if no one else sees it right now. And you are okay. You are worthy of a life that feels gentle on your nervous system. You are worthy of quiet joy, of inner spaciousness, of soft mornings without urgency. You don't have to keep proving. Your rest is not laziness. Your silence is not absence. Your peace is not selfish. It's healing. It's how you recover from years of living outside yourself. So tonight, before you sleep, thank the parts of you that stayed, the parts that kept showing up, the parts that never stopped hoping for softness. And in the quiet, remind yourself, you are not too much. You are not too sensitive. You are not behind. You are on a gentle path, one breath at a time, back to yourself. Let the loud world roar if it must. You will keep choosing peace. You will keep walking gently, speaking kindly, resting deeply, because that is the art of living gently. And you, dear soul, are learning it beautifully.